Thank you, Mr. Williams. So I think this is a very important question. And let me start by saying we have asked all banks to explain to customers what a loan deferral or moratorium means. What it means essentially is that you can get relief on principal and interest, which means cash flow relief for the period of the deferral, whether that is 3 months, 6 months, whatever the period would be. What it does not mean is that interest is waived, because interest is not waived. And that is going to be the situation in all financial institutions. So, a moratorium means, or loan deferral, keep it simple, that effectively your loan is going to get larger by the amount of the interest accrued, and the tenor or length of the loan is going to be longer because you may need a few additional months to repay. So if you take a loan deferral for 3 months, your loan is likely to last at least 3 months longer. If you take it for 6 months, it is likely to last 6 months longer. So we've asked in writing that all banks properly explain what that means, so that people evaluate their options and what works best for them. For example, I have had people say, what I really need now is relief on principal. I can still manage my interests. Now, not everybody can do that. Some people can't pay anything right now. They don't have a job. But there are those who have some income, maybe not as much, but they want to minimize the costs going forward, and they are prepared to pay interest, but they want principal relief. And I've said to the banks, work with the clients, your customers. If you have to change your systems manually, do that to help them. Because part of the challenge is that many of our banks have certain IT systems which makes it perhaps a little challenging for them to do one or the other. So many of them will say, well, do you want interest and principal or you don't? You know, it's a sort of either or. We've said to them, work with the customer, be flexible, manually make the change if you have to give your customer the best option. So customers need to be clear. The moratorium or the loan deferral works if you absolutely need cash flow relief. That is what it is. And some of you might be saying, well, why can't the bank just waive the interest? Well, I want to remind you, banks have your deposits and my deposits, and they are continuing to pay interest on those deposits. And by the way, the banks do not own those deposits. They owe those deposits. They have to be paid. So they have to pay their staff. They have to pay security. They have to pay technology. So it is not possible in this period where banks are collecting less, still making certain payments, still extending credit to some customers to keep them going, to expect them to waive the interest. And if they were to do that, then they would put your deposits at risk. And we can't afford that to happen. So we need to be very clear about why the banks are waiving this period. What we've said to them is to waive the fees, waive the late payment fees, but the interest will accrue and will have to be paid later. So I'm glad you asked, so that we can clear that up. I think the other question had to do with, it was not, well, we dealt with the payments. There was another question. Remind me, refresh me. Yeah. The moratorium, the payments, there was another question related.
Yeah.
So we've
Yeah. It had to do, if the interest should be freeze, then why at the end of the period it will be still going for that grace period?
Right, we answered that.
Mm.
Is that all?
Wait.
I thought there was a 3-part question and something else. Yeah.
Yes. That's all I said.
That's it? Okay.
That was
All right. Well, yes. Thank you, Director General. So basically, it's cash flow relief to help you through a difficult time. And by the way, it may very well be that some people may need a little more than 6 months. And again, your bank will work with you depending on your situation. So the 6 months is a guide. Some people may need a little less. Some people may ultimately need a little more. But the banks will work with you as far as possible. Now, if your loan was in the arrears and non-performing before, the banks might want to have a different conversation with you. And of course, you will engage your bank and hopefully come up with an appropriate settlement arrangement. Thank you.